Hey everybody, I just wanted to share that I recently released my 3-part novel, my Selfhood series on Amazon in a 3-book set. So if you're interested, that is available. This Sounds with Song is volume 2. I'm going to read a little excerpt from this novel just to give you a flavor of some of the writing. And so the first half of the book is, much of it is set on a boat when the speaker is a young child. And this is from her, kind of her imagined eye. So I'll just go ahead and read part of this just to give you a sense of some of the poesy and the writing, and then I'll go from there. So this is chapter 14 from Sounds with Song, Selfhood, Volume 2. There is a magic permitting its particles to glide into cool shiftings that respond with the flex of the tides, which lives amid the muscular bending of waves, circling, and while thought by some as a place for dark, it actually stores much vision and light, unlimited in space to grow high, ambitious kelp that from below appears taller than the tops of ancient redwoods. One could become lost in the maze of words to describe it, how the ocean is hungry and full of teeth, and the beaches broken into sand, sometimes trapping life foraging in the shallows for food, careful crabs not wishing to be swallowed by the next oncoming wave. Below, the base of the boat slices each of these same waves into two, or it just divides the flatness evenly across on either side. There is more to it than mere senses alone, for the ocean is one of those things like canyons that lives, breathes, ever deep across the chasm of downward space, each bit of plankton surging in the upswelling of sun that goes on without us, without our arrogance, and our need to restore our own knowledge and human greed. On, without intention, it went. Without philosophy or instruction, it went. It permitted lives, it permitted deaths. With and without all this, it went. Were one to lean past the metal rail, one might be surprised to find, while anchored and the surrounding waters still, the approach of jellyfish emerging from the dark wall of the deep, thick in their shapeless goo as they delicately appear as balloons that drag the waters against their clear, graceful drifts. Primitive in shape and form, they, being one of the earth's oldest beasts, use their substance to grope their ways among the abysmal stacks of deep-seated weeds and dwell without backbones among us. Their only defense is their painful sting against flesh, be it fish or man. Once while snorkeling, Marion had encountered one of these primitive beasts, the jellyfish which, floating indifferently by, did not mind her watchful eyes. To witness it is to witness life from 100 million years past. Fascinated by its electric, clear blue form, Marion extended both her arms in an attempt to close in on the creature, who glided sideways in a sudden dash, yet graceful as it pulled out from her grasp, and was kind enough not to sting. The child, however, upon seeing this fascinating thing, would not surrender. So again she reached, further this time, unknowing just what it was capable of. Her pink, round fingers, tinted by sun, had taken hold of its jelly form and cupped the creature in her palms. Floating to surface, she pulled her cupped hands up from out of the waterline, and marveled at this thing that did not move or slick out her hands the way eels did. Instead, it just remained, as she poured the liquid of its form from hand to hand, back, forth, but after several seconds, she felt her hands begin to sting, almost burn, and so she let the thing go. At first it did not move, merely hovered in that spot. But then, in an instant, it wriggled its way out from its momentary form and shifted from sight. The child peered down at her hands through the fog of her mask, and she could see the palms were blazing pink. Soon enough they would be crayon red, and how they stung and stung. Her dad had once said that jellyfish would not sting the palms of human hands, for the skins were too tough. But judging by the burn she felt just then, he had been wrong. At night, when one's eyes coax the sky ever so pressed by stars, how much warmth or not existed up there? The girl wonders. The nature of it belonged to everyone and was not splintered into shards, these designated stars meant only for one person. No, they belonged to everyone. And lower than those very stars lived a planet, and lower still lived solid land. And even lower still were waters that went to the deepest parts of this earth, parts that would take any visitor back 100 million years or more, eras before any of this, before language even, before there were modest words to name it. Encroaching reefs, the corals own of their own time. As the lower any eye could go, the further away went further time. Could rich waters housed numerous species of fish that were one captured by sharks? Oh God! Could rich waters housed numerous species of fish that were one captured by some shark, would be bitten into black swells of bloody grit, then swallowed? A few seconds in the hidden dark of the seabed can sometimes make all the difference. Years later, I, the speaker of this tale, will witness a lizard ever gracefully pass over my window. Bulging in breath, the length of its green body will press and slide across the pane as it hesitates a moment, undistracted and ignorant of my eyes. Of course, I will not think to catch it, for its speed could surely outdo me, but perhaps, as it carries its lizard shape over to a nearing branch, it will wait till a bird passes over, hopeful to remain hidden amid its camouflage green. There will be nothing really to connect this lizard to that of the deep sea, save for the same set of eyes having witnessed both at different times. Once again, a human can feel like a time traveler, one that can cross over eras, deep-dwelling waters as well as land. In a moment, the lizard is gone, and no remnants, no physical touch from it remain, only the actual sight itself that I have now chosen to tell. Water and air are what have brought me into being, so why should I not share what it is I see? Memory is, as any galaxy, one that thrives on hierarchy, its own need for patterns. Were these early recollections merely like that of the jellyfish, easily shaped into something concrete, yet willing, if toyed with too often, to leave some sharp sting? Or is that too obvious a comparison? Were some like the small green lizard that scuttles across a closed window, ever surfacing out into light, yet hopeful to return as it once was, unrecognized as it hides once again? Or does having seen it prove to be too much, and despite not being able to find it, that knowing it still lives in some nearby bushes enough? Sometimes in whatever book I'm reading, the wind will blow a blade of grass into the press of some page, only to be rediscovered years later, if at all, or perhaps by someone else altogether. I once read of a writer who believed that books, like people, needed to travel. Remaining in the same place for too long would kill anyone, and that went for ideas as well. So what would this writer do? He'd leave his books on park benches, beaches, restaurants, under trees, hopeful someone might provide a new home and love the book as much as he. Did he fail? Did he succeed? One can only imagine. The lantern of the past ever glows, a smile in the observer, now knowing more than before. Steep in the motion of the human mind, some of its recall, of course, goes unrealized. One needs to rely on objects to strike some vivid gain, hoping that, by noticing, the incident will surface back. Joan and her photo box, sifting through more than only actual events, but thoughts then, and how they often change, and how much have they changed since. Time, as it ages, grows more disguised, easier to confuse, disfigure, even switch into lies. When will it happen then, as the memory shifts and chooses which shadow to regard? Water, there is something about it that when mixed with the right temperature can corner all angles if the earth if it tried. It will in fact take whatever shape it is forced to make, growing ever thinner, slimmer into what we recall. So the way I set this up, as you can see, this is actually referring back to the opening, what am I? I'm a memory. So I set these chapters are indented to resemble kind of water flowing into a slimness, as you can see here. That's the only weird text thing I have in the book. But obviously, so I wrote this. This book is from 2007. This is very Lauren Eiseley is obviously an influence. Robinson Jeffers. I bid my thanks to them. I learned a lot from both of them in the idea of how to incorporate nature into writing, and not just describing nature like a very, oh, look at the sky and doing a lot of description. But as you can hear it, you can see how it's more about pulling it inward and what that actually comes to represent. And it's not just some kind of shallow thing, but it's actually the water, and the movement becomes the memory itself, and how memories will shift, like waters will shift. And sorry I flubbed up some of the words, I just read that straight. If you're interested in purchasing, it's available on Amazon. It is $10.99 for this single version. I'm selling the all 3 books together. The ebook is $8.99. This paperback is $10.99, and I'm selling the 3-volume set, ebook $9.99, and paperback $17.99. And oh, the reason, sorry, my kitty cat likes to jump. The reason the paperback is $17.99 is that the printing cost, because the book is very thick. It's over 600 pages, because I had to single space it. I had to do it to get it into that, be able to shrink it down. Amazon charges a lot because of its thickness, so that's why it's $17.99, because if the cheapest I could have sold it was $15.99, but I think I would literally make like less than $1. So I said, okay, well, at least I want to make $2. When I sell an ebook, I make more on Amazon, but anyway, I don't care, whatever. It's not about the money, but I just wanted to give an example of, that's one chapter where some of the poetic writing within the book is not is like based on my childhood, and so you can see how I took like these memories and I tried to incorporate them into something more metaphorical, and that was just you know, my little Lauren Eiseley homage. He's a huge influence on me, as well as I said, as Jeffers. Excuse me. This little kitten likes to, this is Dolce, she likes to climb. So, isn't she cute? So, I think that's all I have right now. If you got through that, I thank you for listening. But I will be in touch soon. I'm going to have some more Enneagram topics and discuss a little more. But now my throat hurts, so my throat got dry. But hope everyone's doing well, and I'll be in touch. Thank you for listening.